USA, come on baby, come on baby, come on baby, USA, 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 again, he did it again, Christian Pulisic, the captain of USA national team.
Brought down by Birindelli, this is Colpani, checks inside, still Colpani, goes for goal! How about that from Andrea Colpani?
Hello and welcome to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode 90 and we're your hosts Jake
and Matt,
here to cover all the happenings of Matchday 2 in Serie A. Come on baby.
Come on baby. As you guys heard from the intro, we couldn't help but add a bit of banterous commentary brought to you by Milan's commentator Mauro Suma. That was for Christian Pulisic's opener against Torino. However, our goal of the week did come from Colpani after his first goal of 2 against Empoli, where he basically beat his man outside the area and thumped the ball into the near top corner. Beautiful goal and a great performance by Colpani this week.
Yeah, player of the week for sure.
I think so.
It was between that and Ngonj's goal, because Ngonj had a lot to do upon receiving the ball at the halfway line and he took it all the way. He beat his man and he hammered it home. Like, what a goal that was.
There was also Duvan Zapata rolling back the years and striking that ball on the turn. Within a second, the defender was done. And yeah, just a brilliant strike into the bottom corner by him. We had a few contenders. I think Pulisic's opener was quite a good goal as well, linked up well with Loftus-Cheek over there. Some good team play by Milan.
Yeah, definitely. Fantastic goals all around. Guys, remember to follow, like, and rate us 5 stars. Do let us know below whose goal you think was better, by the way.
Yeah.
If you like what we do and would like to support us, we have a Patreon that you can subscribe to. It's $3.99 a month and it puts you in our WhatsApp group chat, and we'll love you more than the others, basically, if you're a patron.
Yeah. When is our Asta for our Fantaculture League?
It is I believe,
week?
next week.
Next week.
Yes,
okay.
Next week.
Interesting.
Yeah, the date I believe was the 11th, but don't quote me.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The league is up to 10 people now, so that's going to be way more competitive, particularly when it comes to bidding for players. More competition. Every kind of average player, their price just goes up even more.
You're gonna need to take the likes of Luvumbo and Banda. Those are gonna be the gems.
Hey, don't give away our secrets now, bro. I believe there are some news updates that you should take.
Yes, I'm just gonna quickly run down the funny events of this week. This is a new thing we've been doing.
Yeah.
So this week in Serie A, we saw referees suspended, a power cut at San Siro mid-game, high caliber last minute transfers such as Lukaku to Roma, Pavard to Inter, and Taremi to Milan is also looking likely. Many a David defeat many a Goliath, and Goliath just so happens to live in Rome, as Verona and Genoa beat Roma and Lazio respectively, while Frosinone slayed Atalanta. I'm not quite sure what's going on with my pronunciation today.
Goliath.
I think Goliath. I think it's the red wine that started early today.
I think so.
Cagliari fans demonstrated that football is indeed for everyone, as a person living with a disability flipped off the Inter fans in a hilarious video.
Yeah.
Francesco Totti's son, Christian Totti, made his debut for Frosinone's Primavera team, and of course Mauro Suma spoke English, which is always fun.
Everyone has to go see the video of the Cagliari fan flipping bird to Inter. Just a proper lad, just enjoying a night of football.
And it's one of those videos where you never believe what's going to happen next. Like, the video starts with a guy mooning the fans. Like, so the first thing you see is a guy's ass. Like, and it just goes on. Then he grabs his Johnson, he feeds them the bird, and then out of nowhere, it's just so funny. You have to go watch.
You have to. We're also at the moment, whilst recording this episode, catching up on some Serie B. At the moment, watching Sampdoria against Venezia, and the scenes are pretty lit. I mean, Sampdoria fans coming out and supporting their team, despite being in Serie B this season, and there are some other top games going on at the moment. But let's move into match day 2 of Serie A. I'll take you through the rundown. We're going to start things off by discussing Milan's 4-1 victory over Torino. Giroud grabbing himself a brace over there through 2 very controversial penalties awarded to Milan. Inter went to Sardinia and managed a 2-0 victory against newly promoted Cagliari. Napoli slayed Sassuolo with the score of 2-0 despite Giacomo Raspadori failing to score against his former team after missing a penalty. Juventus 1, Bologna 1 led to the referees getting suspended for a while from Serie A following a penalty not being awarded to Bologna. Very, very incorrect call over there. Hellas Verona beating Roma 2-1 and being one of the few teams to win both of their opening games. Lazio 0, Genoa 1. Lazio haven't picked up a point yet this season. Frosinone 2, Atalanta 1. Frosinone looking really good at starting the games off with a lot of energy and getting goals in the first half. Fiorentina 2, Lecce 2. Lecce coming back from a couple of goals down and managing to get the draw over there.
Yet again.
Monza 2, Empoli 0. No real surprises there. Comfortable and a couple of great goals by Colpani. Salernitana 1, Udinese 1 in what was a very, very competitive game over
Amazing
here.
game
Very
of football.
physical game as well.
6:30 treat on a Monday. Your prediction earlier on, I believe you had corrected it, but you had predicted
I did correct it.
Empoli to go down. I called you crazy.
Look, it's still match day 2. My prediction came off nothing much more than a gut feeling. The gut feeling is still there. It's just logically there are teams that are worse than Empoli, but from what we've seen thus far, the team has a lot of improvements to make, like significant ones. I'm saying at the moment they do look like the weakest team in Serie A, judging from the first 2 matches that they played. But again, it's still very early. Turns out, they had a very disappointing loss to Hellas Verona. But Hellas Verona now just beat Roma 2-1.
Yeah.
So you never know. Now Verona might lose to some nobody and Roma might beat Milan next Friday. You know what I mean?
We need a sample size. We need to gauge a few games to see where exactly everyone
I think
stands.
10 match days in and you can start getting an idea of who's where kind of thing, despite the fact that a manager might get sacked and seasons might turn around. You never know, but I'm like, maybe Empoli will get relegated. Who the hell knows?
We'll see. I believe you have the first game, brother.
I do have the first game with Milan for Torino 1. So in the opening game, Milan defeated Bologna away from home with the score of 2-0, whilst Torino were coming off a 0-0 home draw to newly promoted Cagliari. Milan have won 5 of their last 7 in Serie A against Torino, but Torino did get the better of Milan twice last season, once in Coppa Italia and once in Serie A. AC Milan and Torino have drawn 56 of their 153 matches in Serie A, with both sides only recording more draws against Lazio in the top flight, 59 for the Rossoneri and 58 for La Granata. Milan stuck with the same 11 that beat Bologna 2-0, giving Christian Pulisic, Loftus-Cheek and Tijani Reinders their first taste of San Siro, with Ben Nasser still out injured and Yunus Musa finally available for the first time and featuring off the bench. Toro were still missing Kofi Gigi and Demba Sek after a disappointing goalless draw to Cagliari. Milan played a 4-3-3 formation with Mike Maignan between the sticks and a backline of Calabria, Ciao Tomori and Theo Hernandez. Reinders, Krunic and Loftus-Cheek formed the midfield three with Leao out on the left, Pulisic out on the right and Giroud in the middle. For Torino, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation with the big boy Vanja Milinkovic-Savic between the sticks and a backline of Schurz, Buongiorno and Rodriguez. Bellanova was the right wing-back, whilst Vojvoda was the left wing-back, and Ricci and Ilic formed a double pivot with Vlasic and Radonjic playing behind Tony Sanabria. Tony Sanabria, however, in the opening moments of the match, and just moments after I picked him up on Fantacalcio, went off injured and was replaced by Pellegrini. Still more information to come out about his injury, and we will keep you guys updated once we hear more on that. In the 33rd minute, Pulisic opened the scoring. The American once again started and finished the action. He played through Loftus-Cheek wide inside the box, who opened the angle extremely well before returning a low diagonal ball for Pulisic to tap in. Brilliant between the two former Chelsea players and former Chelsea teammates. However, it was just 3 minutes later, as Milan's defence struggled to take shape after clearing the ball, Ricci's mishit shot fell to Schurz, who found himself in a defensive hole, and he did extremely well to volley the ball in on the turn from close range. In the 43rd minute, Giroud scored a penalty. The penalty was harshly awarded as VAR noticed a Buongiorno handball inside the area. Please bear with me whilst I try to explain this, as it is tough to put into words. As the ball was played into the box, Giroud ducked down and flicked on a header. And with Buongiorno stationed right behind him and his arms planted on Giroud's back, the ball took a small deflection on the hand of the defender following Giroud's header. His hands were very close to Giroud's head, so there wasn't a lot of space for the ball to travel before hitting his hands. There's no way Buongiorno would have gotten his hands out of there. It was so minor that no one noticed it from open play. But in Italy, it tends to be that if the crime is committed, the crime is committed. You see in the Premier League and in the Champions League that actually take distance as a factor, so on and so forth. It doesn't seem to be taken too much into account in Italy. It used to be. Look, as long as there's continuity, we can't complain. In this case, Giroud stepped up and sent Vanya the wrong way with a perfect penalty hitting the side netting. A few moments later, at the stroke of halftime, in the 47th minute, still in the first half, Theo got his name on the score sheet. Theo played the ball to Leao on the wing, and as the Portuguese held onto the ball well, Theo sprinted into the box very cleverly and received a return pass from Leao before he dinked the ball expertly over Vanya. I'm going to go back and say that this should have been a contender for goal of the week, because it's the best left back and the best left winger in the league linking up in that way, and that tiny dink by Theo and the run of the ball.
The ball by Leao was so smart.
Perfectly weighted pass. What a move. In the 65th minute, another controversial penalty awarded to Milan. This time VAR noticed Schurz planting his studs onto Leao after the Portuguese had delivered his cross. Now, despite the fact that the foul was committed after the ball left Leao's foot, the referee and the VAR team still deemed this to be dangerous play inside the area, which subsequently led onto a penalty. In hindsight, I don't think this was as controversial as the first one, because it's a stomp. You know what I mean? But the same result would have taken place, but Leao did end up going off injured after that, so penalty it was. Once again, Giroud stepped up, and rather than sending Vanya the wrong way, he left him rooted to the spot and once again hit the ball into the side netting. Perfect penalty once again from Olivier Giroud. Emphatic victory by Milan. Very, very dominant performance. Do you think that the two harsh penalties played so much of a factor, or did Milan deserve to win the game by that margin?
The first penalty awarded gave Milan the lead. That was the most controversial one in my opinion.
No, that was it gave... Yeah, it did give me... You're right. Apologies.
And the last one cemented the victory. I do think that obviously it made a massive difference, right? I mean, Milan looked comfortable and Torino still seemed to be settling into the season. I think Milan would have got the job done either way. I know you can never really say in football, but at the end of the day, they were all over the place defensively. I think Schurz had a pretty good start to the game, but eventually, Leao just ended up destroying him towards the end, over and over again.
I think the pressure that Milan are putting on their opponents with that high line, high pressure, high intensity in all areas of the pitch is really causing a lot of defensive errors. They're not letting the teams shift between actions. They're playing a super offensive brand of football. And the thing that I like about how Milan are playing right now is that they're managing to bypass teams' high defensive setup. So before we saw Milan really struggle against the low block. I'm not going to say that they're not going to struggle against the low block after just 2 games. However, Milan are doing this thing where they're managing to bypass the other team's high defensive setup, and no longer by just pinging the ball to Giroud for a flick on, but the Milan players are positioning themselves in such a way to create space in dangerous areas, which is where Maignan comes in clutch, and with his long balls and his short accurate passes, he's really managing to expose the defenses. He had a pass success rate of 56.3% against Torino. That movement, especially the movement by Giroud and the midfielders moving in such a way to create space for Leao down the flank, and for the ball to be pinged down the flank for Leao, is beautiful. And the inverted wingers are playing a massive part in creating space as well. You see Theo really joining the central areas and really linking up well with Reinders, Loftus-Cheek, and adding this fluidity and pace in the midfield. And I think that just makes Milan so much more dangerous, man.
There are two things I notice about Milan's good start. So first of all, it's the fact that these guys have played together before. You look at Pulisic, Giroud, and Loftus-Cheek. They all know each other as they were key pieces at Sarri's Chelsea.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Another thing is that these guys were signed early on in the season.
Exactly.
Tonali was sold literally. I think the first day the transfer window opened. What was it? The season had just ended.
Literally.
Tonali was sold immediately. I remember that.
Barely sunny. Like.
And then, like, people were just coming in.
Yeah.
You know, Reinders, Loftus-Cheek, Pulisic was being brought in immediately. And they had a full pre-season together, and they look like they've already settled. And that's crazy. You know, I wasn't expecting Reinders to be so good this early on.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been a key part of the team for ages.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so those are the two takeaways I take from Milan's great start right now, and it's been a pleasure to watch. And if Taremi comes in, they're gonna be, it's gonna be like, okay, so you have Leao, Okafor, Giroud, Taremi, Pulisic, Chukwueze.
Madonna, man. Madonna. At the moment, I do think that the best man for Milan up front with this brand of football is Giroud.
Yeah.
Because he's playing extremely well with the young, energetic players that are around him. And the fluidity when Giroud gets the ball and he's capable of releasing it so quickly, quite far down the pitch with his back towards goal, is really allowing players like Leao, players like Pulisic, even players like Loftus-Cheek and Reinders to get into dangerous areas, and they expose the defence that way. I think I can't stress on how much I'm liking Theo this season with the amount of... He's staying very wide throughout the entire game, but the way he's drifting centrally and playing with the midfielders, man, wow, I never thought that he could move the ball that well. I thought he was just, you know, put your head down and sprint, but he's actually quite clever when it comes to playing the ball short.
He's a very street smart player. These guys can play very well. Like if you compare this Milan to the Milan of previous seasons, these guys are really good in tight spaces, and that's why Giroud's striving, because they have great technique. They hold the ball, particularly Loftus-Cheek. You know, players. I forgot who said this, but players bounce off Loftus-Cheek when he hits rhythm. He hits a certain pace, and everyone just bounces off him, and it's true. Like this game, it happens.
He's very good.
See it.
The guy's a tree, man. Loftus-Cheek is a fucking tree, and he's so technically gifted as well, man. I really, really like Loftus-Cheek. But I won't go on talking about Milan for much longer. Yes, Operation Taremi is in full swing. The two teams can't stop communicating, essentially. Apparently, they're even having Skype calls at night. Like
permanent communication.
Permanent communication. Like have a cigarette break. You know what I mean?
The line's always engaged.
Yeah. Salamakers joins Bologna on a loan with option to buy for around 9 to 10 million. Sad to see Salamakers go. If you want... People were saying, you know, Tonali leaving, Tonali born and bred Milan fan, he bleeds red and black. Salamakers bled red and black too, man.
Yes. For me, shit deal. I'm sorry.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you brought this guy in for what, 11 million?
Yeah.
3 seasons ago. He's obviously improved. He's developed. It's clear to see that he's a better player than when he came in. How come you're not making a markup?
Literally.
I feel like Pioli and Salamakers might have fallen out, or there were some internal issues because he was being forced out, and he was included in a list of players who weren't even playing, like Balotelli and Origi. Like, these guys don't feature. Why is Salamakers' name there? He was a key player. He scored 2 of the only goals Milan scored in the Champions League group stage. Yeah. You know, I think it's strange, and I think they're in a rush to get rid of him. And Bologna don't even have the obligation to buy him. They have the option. So if he flops over there, they don't even need to get him. Yeah. Plus, sorry, I'm going to say one more thing. I'm not even sure he'll start with Bologna.
I don't think he will.
Because Ndoye or Solini, Ferguson, these guys are really
literally good. Even wing backs. There's
Posh. He's not going to replace Posh.
No, and he's a right-sided player, though we have seen him play out on the left in the Champions League for Milan last season. But yeah, perfectly put, bro. I wish Salamakers the best of luck in Bologna. One thing is for sure, the fans are going to love him because he's a player that just comes in clutch. I feel I had another point to make, yes, and it is about Leao having a much better match than that season opener. He grabbed an assist, and he also won the winning penalty before limping off injured, and he did earn himself a Man of the Match award after an underwhelming, like I said, season opener against Bologna. Do not be fooled, Torino will bounce back. They've had a slow start, drawing to Cagliari and getting trashed by Milan. However, this is Ivan Juric's side, and once they get players like Miranchuk on and ticking players like Vlasic,
you know who they're bringing in, right?
Who?
Duvan Zapata.
Apparently,
Yeah.
El Toro signing the bull, bro.
Oh yeah.
That's whoa, that would be an episode title.
El Toro signed the bull.
Yes.
That's nice. Duvan Zapata. Let's see if this is actually a step away from Buongiorno.
Okay.
Zapata.
Atalanta. Oh wow, Atalanta want Buongiorno, and they'll give them Zapata
and
return.
Soppy. And Brandon Soppy.
Whoa.
That's a good deal.
Bro,
you lose a great defender.
Scalvini and Buongiorno are the future 2 starting centre backs for the Italian
And
national
Bastoni, yeah.
team. That's a three at
That's a three at the back.
Bring Conte. Bring that. That's it. Conte. Sorry. I keep calling Spalletti Italiano. I wonder why. I'm gonna start calling you Spalletti soon. But that's enough for this game. We're very excited to watch Milan-Roma next Friday, which will be the highlight game of the week.
Yes, the next game we're going to be covering was the last game of Matchday 2. It was Cagliari 0, Inter 2 in Sardinia. Cagliari have won only one of their last 12 Serie A games played against Inter. This was 2-1 in March 2019 thanks to an own goal by Perisic and a goal scored by none other than Leonardo Pavoletti.
Nanadadan.
Siela Metti.
Segna Pavoletti.
The lineups. It was a 4-2-3-1 formation for Claudio Ranieri with Radunovic in goal, Augello as the left back and Zappa as the right back, with a centre-back partnership of Obert and Dossena. The midfield double pivot was the very disgruntled Sulemana, and Makumbu. Yankto was out on the left with Orestiano on the right, Nandes was playing as the 10, and Pavoletti was playing as the striker. For Inter, it was Simona Inzaghi's trademark 3-5-2 formation, with Sommer in goal, Darmian, Devray and Bastoni at the back, Dumfries as the right wing back and Di Marco as the left wing back, Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu and Barella in the middle, with Thuram and Martinez up front. Now, it all kicked off in the 21st minute when Thuram charged and released the ball intelligently to Dumfries, who got in behind and finished well. Sulemana lost the ball and did a terrible job at tracking back on Dumfries, and this would be a theme. Sulemana really struggled with the pace of the game in the first half.
Thuram, have to say, it was a very good pass by him, similar to the Leao one in the sense that it was very well weighted.
Perfectly weighted, yes.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a no-look, no? He didn't really move his head that obviously.
A little bit. You could tell the guy has quality.
Yeah. Di Marco in the 29th minute played the ball to Lautaro, who controlled, took a touch, beat his man and slotted it home. Sulemana was caught in no man's land once again. He realized that he should have probably been on Lautaro and went to try to clear the ball off the line desperately, but it was too late. Lautaro isn't going to miss from there. In the 35th minute, Ranieri made a tactical change and decided to change things up. He took out Pavoletti, the target man, as they were struggling to get the ball in the box, to be honest. And when they did, Pavoletti, I believe twice, they got the ball into the box twice while Pavoletti was on, and he forced a header both times. Failed to hit the target, but he was looking dangerous.
Yeah, I think considering that Inter had naturally 3 at the back, that they could have used that pace, was the target man the right decision to take out, considering that sometimes if they're on the counter attacking down the wing and they play a high ball in the middle, then Pavoletti is your man. You see in the UK, in the Premier League, it's all about having a big 9 up front when you're losing. You know what I mean?
He brought on Luvumbo instead. Now Luvumbo is a very technical dribbler, you know, he's a very dangerous flair player. I liked the introduction of Luvumbo, and he did well. He was forcing many attacks. And the rest of the game was pretty much Luvumbo against the world. But what happened then? They were getting the ball into the box, and they couldn't take their chances, at all, because there was no one to slot the ball in. Yeah, in the 88th minute, they got particularly close as Luvumbo squared it across goal to Wadzi, who had an empty net for a second, but his shot wasn't powerful enough, and he allowed Sommer to come flying onto the ball.
Yeah, he made Sommer look real good there.
He made him look really good.
Now he is good, but he made him look particularly good there.
Yeah. Cagliari had a penalty appeal towards the end of the game, but in reality, I think Cagliari had one shot on target towards the end of the game. And it was quite a routine victory for Inter.
Yeah, Inter are doing a very good job at finishing games off quite early and just taking it easy and defending their lead. I don't think they were fazed by Cagliari at any point in this game. I think Inter remained organised, and I think that was as much of an easy victory as they're going to get, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't any easy games in the league, and a 2-0 victory against a newly promoted side that's known to be tough. You know, you have Ranieri, who's going to make your life hell. You could see him from the very beginning. He's going tight, keep it tight. You know, he didn't want Inter to penetrate at all. And it took, to be honest, 2 half chances for Inter to score.
Yeah,
but
that's the thing.
It was out of nothing. Both
I'm not saying it was an easy game for Inter. I'm saying that they were so good that at their, not even at their best, but they were comfortable with the quality that they have. They were supremely comfortable winning this game.
Yeah. The 71st minute allowed Inzaghi to bring on some newcomers, as well as he brought on Frattesi, Carlos Augusto and Juan Cuadrado. In the 77th minute, he also introduced Marko Arnautovic, as these guys continue to settle. They also brought in Sensi in the 82nd minute. I understand giving him only 8 minutes, you know, you don't want to risk him, he's made of glass. Yeah, well, Shomorodov, for example, was brought in the 85th. This guy can't seem to... I know it's early days, but I don't know, man. You join a newly promoted side, I think you'd want to be a protagonist, especially as someone who's coming from Roma at the end of the day.
Look, and I mean, even last season at Spezia, he had many an opportunity to show us his quality. This is a guy that when he joined Roma, we said Mourinho found... not his guy, but he found a very Mourinho-esque kind of jolly to bring on, the same way he had a Debayor at Real Madrid kind of thing. But unfortunately, I really haven't been impressed by Shomorodov when seeing him playing, man, in Serie A.
Yeah, same. Funny quote from Denzel Dumfries after the game.
Oh, yeah.
He said, "The coach is always very excited on the side of the pitch. He speaks a lot. Sometimes I don't listen because it's too much. I know him now. It's good. He motivates me to attack, so I like it." He also said that he's happy when he has to go on the other side.
Yeah, that's great for a manager to hear, no?
Yeah.
The guy just wants me to shut the fuck up and he wants to be as far away from me
He
as
thinks
possible.
I'm emotional, he doesn't listen.
Yeah, no.
I'm his wife.
No, no fucking micromanaging the same way that fucking Mourinho used to micromanage Luke Shaw.
Yeah. You may have seen his body, but I was his mind. Yeah, so 2 wins on the trot for Inter as they continue their impressive start to the season.
Yes, sir. The next game we're going to be covering is Napoli 2, Sassuolo 0. Napoli were coming off a 3-1 away win against newly promoted Frosinone, while Sassuolo were coming off a 2-0 home loss against Atalanta. Napoli are now unbeaten in their last 6 league games against Sassuolo, where they won 4 games and drew 2. In this period, they've scored an average of 3.4 goals per match. Napoli have won both of their first 2 league games of a season in 8 of their last 12 Serie A seasons. No team has more in the same period. The champions of Italy made their home debut in a packed stadium and had Kvaratskhelia back on the bench after muscular issues. Sassuolo welcomed Ruan Tressoldi after suspension in the defeat at Atalanta, but Gregoire Defrel and Filippo Missori were not fully fit. Agustin Alvarez, a long-term absentee, and Domenico Berardi still trying to force a move to Juventus. For Napoli, it was their 4-3-3 formation with Alex Miret in goal and a backline of Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Juan Jesus and Oliveira, a midfield 3 of Zielinski, Lobotka and Anguissa. Raspadori was out on the left, Politano out on the right and Victor Osimhen up front. It was the same formation for Sassuolo with Consigli in goal and a backline of Toljan, Erlich, Tressoldi and Vigna. They had Boloca, Lopez and Henrique in the midfield, with Bayrami out on the right instead of Berardi, Lauriente on the left and Pinamonti starting up front. Just 50 seconds into this match, Di Lorenzo's early low cross was volleyed into the near post by Raspadori, hitting the post and being denied a goal against his former side. In the 16th minute, Osimhen managed to score from the penalty spot. The penalty was given away by Boloca, who tripped up Politano inside the area following a great back heel by Di Lorenzo. Osimhen nailed the ball into the top corner, sending Consigli the wrong way. In the 51st minute, Sassuolo, 1 goal down, still in the match against Napoli. However, Maxime Lopez got a straight red card because he basically told the referee to go fuck himself.
How stupid.
Straight red for dissent. You could see him talking to the referee looking away. But Maxime Lopez said something as the referee then whistled, looked at him and gave him the red card. When you're asking for it like that, I'm sorry, I'm a big fan of Maxime Lopez, but getting a straight red card for dissent when you're still in the game, when there's 40 fucking minutes left to go and more, and your team loses the game simply because of your arrogance, then I can't get behind that, I'm afraid. In the 60th minute, just 9 minutes later after that, Napoli were awarded another penalty. The penalty was awarded after Anguissa's header was blocked by the flailing arm of Toljan. It's the same few that make these defensive errors for Sassuolo. Raspadori stepped up to get the goal against his ex, but skied the ball instead. Another thing I dislike, right, is when players step up to take a penalty just so they could get a goal against their former team. Now, sure, maybe Osimhen took the first one, so they actually wanted Raspadori to take this one, but it just seems a bit arrogant, in my opinion, as well. The same way, like, Çalhanoğlu did it against Milan, and he scored, and he fucking did the I can't hear you celebration, and that's, like, respect to him for stepping up and doing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you miss it, you really look like a twat, you know what I mean? And unfortunately for Raspadori, looked a bit like a twat.
Raspadori has never been one to show great respect to Sassuolo. Once after their loss against Inter, he went into the Inter dressing room.
Celebrated with them.
What the fuck?
Disgusting. In the 64th minute, Di Lorenzo finished very cleanly following a great through ball by Kvaratskhelia, who had just come on and was positioned in a very central area over here. Good to see Kvara back, and Di Lorenzo with a firing start to this season, and that is the first point I want to make. Di Lorenzo has 2 assists and 1 goal in the opening 2 games. This isn't reactionary, because we've seen him play in the past few seasons as well. I go to say Di Lorenzo is the best right back in the league, the best Italian right back in the world, and he is a world-class footballer.
He's so good, man.
There, I said it.
He's so good.
Do you agree with the statement that he's world-class?
Yes, I don't think there are many right backs who are as good as Di Lorenzo at the moment. I can't really think of many.
I agree. Even in the opening goal, the way he backheeled the ball to Politano, who won the penalty, was like just incredibly intelligent, and he could attack super well, and he could defend even better, man. Di Lorenzo. That is what I like about him so much. Napoli have introduced these intense strobe lights following each goal in order to create a fire atmosphere whilst killing off any pussies that live with epilepsy.
Wow.
Don't you think it's a lot like it's in the sense that if you're in the stadium and you don't have epilepsy, what an atmosphere, you know what I mean? Score a goal, it's blackout in the zero, boom, 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 these massive strobe lights. But I do think that genuinely it is a concern. If somebody has epilepsy, he can't go watch Napoli because of that. That really does need to be reviewed. Apologies for my joke about them being pussies, you know what I mean? It's a bit of a joke, it's a bit of fun, but seriously, they need to sort that shit out, man.
I don't know.
Napoli, not the people with epilepsy.
I don't know much about epilepsy. I just know that the vibes are cool though after a goal when the lights start flashing.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's the same way it is in the beginning of games, and they do it in the San Siro as well. But it's not that intense. Like literally, when it was blacking out, you couldn't see anything on the screen.
Yeah, there's been a goal.
There's been a goal for Sampdoria against Venezia, and it's Estanis.
Estrinas?
Yeah. Okay, it's Pedrola.
Estranis Pedrola.
Yeah, he has his first name on the back of his shirt. Kvara is back, grabbing himself an assist moments after coming on. To think that Napoli could be more dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, what a start to the season for Napoli, showing that their main pieces, despite Kvaratskhelia coming from an injury, contributed immediately upon entry. Osimhen's off to a flying start as well. Di Lorenzo looks amazing. They look good. They look good. They look very good under Rudy Garcia as well.
Absolutely, man. I do think Sassuolo have had quite a tough start to the season. They had the opening game against Atalanta, despite Frosinone making quick work of Atalanta this match. Well, not quick work, but they beat them. Now they played Napoli. Now in the next game it's an interesting one because they play Verona. And Verona almost got relegated last season. It went to a relegation playout where they won because Faraone handled the ball off the line. But now they're one of the few teams that got 2 wins on the trot in the opening 2 games, so it's not going to be another easy game for Sassuolo. Do you have a prediction for that?
I think Verona might upset. Maxime Lopez will be out. Berardi will probably not feature. Depends. I mean, the transfer market closes tomorrow. So we'll see if they play him or not. I mean, he'll probably still be at Sassuolo. The question is, will he be training with the team? Will he be making himself available? I do think Sassuolo looked a bit better defensively in this game. We can't really judge them because of Maxime Lopez's early red card, of course.
Nice one.
Pinamonti, 10 touches all game, looked like a ghost, isolated. Not really. He hasn't really clicked with his teammates yet, and it's been over a season now. It's about time that he starts.
Do you see anything?
Sacrifice a bit.
Do you see anything in Mulattieri that would make you think he should be starting ahead of Pinamonti?
Honestly, I don't think it'll be long before he gets a start if Pinamonti keeps this up. I don't think Pinamonti's indisplaceable. I think he can easily be benched.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's been a ghost for a season and this one now, basically. I think Napoli look good. I think they still look fluid. I think they look very organized as well under Rudy Garcia. I can't really say much because it was the 2 opening matches, one against Frosinone, and the other against obviously Sassuolo, which we just described. But yeah, that's it for this rundown.
Yeah, we're going to be moving on to Juventus 1, Bologna 1. An upset, you could call it an upset.
Maybe.
That was filled with controversy, right? It was the first real controversial game of the season and the authorities took action, and we'll get into it very soon. Apologies if you hear whining in the background. We do not have a woman locked up. That's our dog. That's our very old dog. Alan has met him.
Yeah,
our patron.
And I think he's missing his Mexican mama.
Yes, man.
If you're listening, Alan.
He loved her, Alan. He absolutely loved her. Yeah. And he's so restless right now. I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah, it's a combination of dementia, being blind. Deaf.
I mean, probably some of those. Probably the low-key arthritis that he has as well isn't helping. We also record without the AC on, guys, and it's like 30 degrees over here, so that you guys can have the best sound quality possible.
And he hates it.
He hates it,
of course.
The
dog wants the AC on.
Yeah.
But anyway, Juve are unbeaten in their last 23 Serie A matches against Bologna. They have 17 wins and 6 draws. For the Bianconeri, it is their longest current unbeaten streak in the competition. So let's get into the lineups. For Juve, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Perin in goal, Sandro, Bremer and Danilo at the back, with Cambiaso out on the left and Way out on the right. Rabiot, Locatelli and Fagioli were in the middle, with Vlahovic and Chiesa up front. For Thiago Motta's Bologna, it was a 4-2-3-1 with Skorupski in goal, Liko Giannis as the left back, Posh as the right back, Beukema and Lukumi at the back, with Moro and Aubisher in the double pivot. Orsolini was out on the right, Ndoye was out on the left, Ferguson was in the 10, and Zirkzee was playing up front. Zirkzee had an impressive match this game.
I agree.
So it all started in the 22nd minute. It took an excellent overhead kick from Bremer to keep the ball away from a streaking Ferguson, although Bologna recycled the ball and forced a save out of Perin when Ndoye went for a goal from a tight angle. In the 24th minute, Bologna went direct. Aubisher, Moro, Zirkzee and Ferguson linked up well to shock Juve. Zirkzee held up the ball and flicked it off to complete Ferguson's 1-2. What a tidy player he can be. And they took the lead over there. In the 38th minute, there was a cross from Wea. It struck a sliding Lukumi in the arm and was deflected behind. In seasons past, this would have been an immediate penalty, but the centre-back was reprieved by a new point of emphasis in the ever-changing handball rule. It stipulates that if a player is actively breaking his fall with his arm, then he is not committing a foul if the ball hits it. So basically, because he was breaking his fall, because he was falling onto his arm and the ball hit it, that is not a a foul. That's not a handball. Therefore, not a penalty. That was the most controversial call for Juve. Then Bologna piled on the pressure after the goal, and Juve didn't seem to have a response. In the first half, Juve had an XG of 0.04 goals. So they didn't really create anything. In the 53rd minute, Sandro lifted the ball to Bremer, who rose high and headed it across the face of goal to Vlahovic, who volleyed it in. Skorupski got his hand on it, but couldn't keep it out. However, celebrations were cut short as Rabiot had been in an offside position during the build-up play. Yeah. Apparently, he was blocking the view of the goalkeeper, but this was also controversial, and many people are debating whether this was actually fair or not controversial. It's true. The 70th minute was the talk of the town as Zirkzey's shot was spilled by Perrin and fell into the path of Ndoye, who was running in. He had an open net, but Illing Jr. flew into him and connected with his man, forcing him to miss the ball. There was no VAR, there was no penalty, and the Bologna officials were absolutely furious.
And no red card.
Yes, the Bello actually did show a red card to one of Bologna's assistant coaches, and a yellow to Motta himself. Yeah. Motta's one of those people that when he's shocked, he smiles.
Laughs.
Yes, he laughs.
It'll be a pain in the ass to book or something, man. Jesus.
It's like when you double booked my table, massive smile on his face. You know the type, right? Yeah, controversial. In the 89th minute, Pogba played Illing Jr. down the wing. The English starlet whipped the ball into Vlahovic, who scored a stunning header, a great header. Probably a goal of the week contender as well, because that header was not an easy one. And
true number 9 header.
Honestly, headed it to perfection. Now, the talking points, there is Illing Jr.'s foul, right?
Yeah.
It had already been reported today that the AIA would suspend both referee Marco Di Bello and the two VAR officials Francesco Furnio and Luigi Nasca,
I guess.
For 1 or 2 months as a result to the error. I believe it's a 2-month suspension for the referees. Do you think this is fair?
I think so. I think action needs to be taken, especially when officials, such as the referee in this scenario, doesn't go to check VAR, and VAR fail to call the referee over when there's a debate, when there's an infringement, especially when it's favoring the attacking team. And in this situation, to me, what it looked like from a consumer of Serie A, right? It looked like the striker had an open goal, and it looked like he was stopped from a clear goal scoring opportunity whereby there was contact with the man inside the box, causing him to lose his balance, and zero contact with the ball whatsoever. That to me is not only a penalty, but it's a red card as well.
Yes, that's it.
That's the clearest one. The one of Lukumi breaking his fall, you understand it. It's in the rule book. You know what I mean? The one of Rabiot on an offside position. I hate those, but it's consistent.
Yes.
You see, up until 3 years ago, Kessie against Napoli.
Exactly.
And those
Giroud against Napoli on the floor.
Giroud, I think so as well. In the Champions League as well, we see it. So these aren't new calls. But when those they shouldn't be suspended for. But that clear-cut penalty, that clear-cut red card is, I'm sorry, but it's a bullshit call.
Yeah, they should have taken a look.
If they don't take these, if they don't punish, then there are going to be no statements made.
Exactly.
And one more thing. With the controversy Serie A has had with its referees over the past 2 decades, there's no room for that. Exactly. So the federation are looking after their reputation as well.
Yeah, totally. Bologna are growing early on.
Yeah. They look good against Milan.
They looked good against Milan. That's what I was going to say. Just a testimony of how dominant Milan were in that game and how they were actually playing a pretty good team. They gave Juve a really hard time over here, and I think Allegri was even out-coached by Motta for the majority of the game.
Bro, Motta is one hell of a coach.
He is one hell of a coach.
Motta is one hell of a tactician, one hell of an innovator, one hell of a man manager, one hell of an in-game manager. Motta is going to be great. He's already fantastic. Motta is going to be a great manager in the future.
Yes, I see that happening. Ndoye looks very solid. I'm a big fan of Ndoye. Those of you who play Fantacalcio, pick him up.
Ndoye, right? Or Ndoye, whatever.
Ndoye.
Well, Ndoye, whatever anyone wants to call him. was doing a fantastic job at stretching that back three of Juve. Sandro, Bremer, Danilo are quite compact, right? Okay, Danilo a natural right back, Sandro a natural left back, so they are capable of bombing down the flanks if needed or going wide if needed. But when they're defending, they're very compact, right? And Ndoye was creating so much space for his teammates by dropping super wide, dragging Danilo with him, and creating an area of space that either Zirkzee or Ferguson was fitting into. Typically it was Zirkzee and he was getting the first touch at the first post, and Ferguson would come in behind, or Orsolini would come in from behind. But Ndoye, through his movement, created so much trouble for Juve in this game.
And same can be said about Zirkzee, totally stretching the line. This was a playbook on how to beat Juventus, I think, because Bologna stretched them to oblivion and they couldn't do anything. Plus, I feel like Sandro was exposed again this game.
I think so, yeah.
The first goal, you could watch him, you could see him taking out his own teammate, Bremer. He took out Bremer instead of the opposition.
Bremer, I don't always watch Juve. I watch most Serie A games, but sometimes Juve just so happen to be the ones that I miss watching. But whenever I watch Bremer, I'm always impressed by him, man. He's so good.
The same can be said about Danilo. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, exactly. Well, last season and this season, because we have seen Danilo have some tough times in the past.
But I think he's been a real leader at Juve.
Yeah, I think so. He found his place.
Yes. Dusan Vlahovic in the first half had 13 touches.
Here we go.
Fewer than both goalkeepers, 15 and 17.
Yeah.
But goes to show how it's a result of a lack of service, because you give Vlahovic the ball, he's an excellent finisher, probably world class.
How many touches does Haaland get for City?
Yeah, that's it. He still scores. Right?
Same thing, man. Yeah. Well, not the same thing, because he's not scoring 5 goals a fucking game.
But the system's different, right?
Yeah,
but Vlahovic on City, I wonder how many he'll score.
Yeah, and Vlahovic is, do not get it twisted, he's in a system that doesn't favour him, but he is top 2 best strikers in the league.
Yeah.
Definitely, without debate.
Locatelli was underwhelming, and Chiesa had no shots. So again, are the men of Juve really being utilised well? Probably not.
Well, in this game against Bologna, obviously second game, so we still need to see. In this game against Bologna is such an organised side that it is tough to perform well against them. And I think Juve simply fell victim to that. I think some of the top teams would struggle against Bologna.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, that's it. Juve's woes have begun. Let's see if they can overcome them. While Bologna look to be growing into the season very early on.
Yeah. You said that was a bit of an upset. Hellas Verona 2, Roma 1. Biggest upset, in my opinion, of this match day. Hellas were coming off a 1-0 away win at Empoli, whilst Roma are coming off a 2-2 home draw to Salernitana, where Candreva turned into Baggio. Hellas Verona have lost 33 of their 64 Serie A matches against Roma, where they won 11 and drew 20. 11. Only against Inter, 39, and Juventus, 36, have they suffered more defeats in the competition. Jose Mourinho was still sitting out a touchline ban because he literally did everything illegal and said everything illegal there was to do, say, and whatever.
Yeah, they said he like lit a joint on the
he started ripping lines of cocaine like on the bench,
swearing,
Yeah, I mean, he attacked the referee. It's not. I'd rather have someone do a bump like that than attack the ref.
Yeah, then you just have the goat, no?
And then you just have the goat, exactly, with massive bags. Yeah. But Mourinho had Dybala and Lorenzo Pellegrini back from suspension after the 2-2 draw with Salernitana. Renato Sanchez joined Tani Abraham and Marash Kumbulla on the treatment table, shocking. Hellas had Davide Faraoni and Isak Hien available after bans, but Lazovic, Henry, Hrustic and Braff were still injured. When it comes to the lineups, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation for Hellas Verona with Montepò on goal and a backline of Davidovic, Hien and Magnani. They had Doig out on the left and Terracciano out on the right, with Duda and Hongla forming the double pivot. Folorunso and Ingonj played behind the massive Ivan Juric. For Roma, it was a 3-5-2 formation with Rui Patricio on goal and the backline of Mancini, Smalling and Llorente. Christensen was on the right and Zalewski on the left with a midfield three of Cristante, Paredes and Pellegrini. Belotti and Dybala started up front together. In the 4th minute, well, it only took 4 minutes for Verona to open the scoring. Duda, the man whose name means Small Willie in Maltese, finished into an empty net after Patricio spilled a long-range Terracciano strike and Duda only had an open net left to beat, 1-0 to Verona. Cristante hit the post shortly after with a header at the near post following a Pellegrini corner. Cristante is super involved for Roma constantly. In the 15th minute, Pellegrini showed great technique to skip past 3 players with superb technique before striking the ball just wide as he was clean through on goal. He will be disappointed with the outcome of that. In the 48th minute, in additional time of the first half, Ngonge doubled Verona's lead. Duda launched a brilliant long ball on the counter-attack to Ngonge, who used his pace well to take the ball into the opposition area, made quick work of Smalling and finished into the far corner, making it 2-0. In the 54th, there was a brilliant and brave save by Montipò following a Mancini header as the goalkeeper dove into the feet of Belotti to deny the Italian. In the 56th minute, Aouar got one back for Roma. Belotti and Montipò clattered into each other, but Belotti managed to get there before the goalkeeper, heading into the path of Aouar, who headed into the empty net, his first goal for Roma. In the 84th minute, Hien was sent off as he denied Belotti a clear goal-scoring opportunity after pulling the striker down to the ground. From the resulting free kick, Pellegrini hit the post in spectacular fashion. Another disappointing result here for Roma. In the first game, we saw them blow a lead to Salernitana and coming 2-2. This time, similar, so in the last game against Salernitana, they had 60% ball possession and they only managed to get away with a point. In this game, they had 71% ball possession and they didn't manage to win the game. They actually didn't even get a single point. What do you make of Roma so far?
So Roma have always been uncomfortable when you let them have the ball.
Yep.
And this was a great example of that because Verona barely had the ball. Verona barely attacked, but when they did, they blew them off.
They were super
They were
opportunistic.
devastating.
Yep.
Yes, devastating. And I think that's the case right now. You have this Roma team over here who are lacking confidence. You know, I believe Dybala went off injured, right, as well.
Yes, actually, sorry, I forgot to mention, Dybala did go off injured. I'm not sure how serious that is either.
They're evaluating him for the Milan game, apparently, nothing serious.
Yeah, I mean, Roma already, their injury list is already growing from early on in the season, and we've seen them seasons on in the past, they've always had that issue, man.
Mm-hmm. And Mourinho has recently come out to say that if Renato Sanchez had been doing well in his career, he would be starting at PSG. And if Dybala hadn't had any problems, then he would be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Basically saying that Roma has become a team that is forced to rehabilitate players who have lost their way.
Yeah, and there's a direct quote here. Is it a surprise that Renato can't play tomorrow? No. It's no surprise given how things have gone for him over the last 2 seasons. If Renato had been playing to a high standard and had been injury-free, then he would be a nailed-on starter at PSG. And he would never have ended up on loan at Roma. It's the same as the Dybala situation last season. So many clubs had their doubts over his fitness and that's how we managed to sign him. This is our reality. I mean, classic Mourinho in the sense that he's saying the truth, but sometimes it's just better not to say this because maybe you're putting down the players that are representing you, putting down the players that are working hard for you.
I agree. It's just extra drama and added hassle. Now, he understands the situation. He understands that the Friedkins are there to solve a financial catastrophe that's been left over from previous owners, you know, and they're doing it well. And Mourinho said only a week ago that, you know, they didn't just pick guys off the street to replace Matic. No. They brought in Renato Sanchez and Paredes, who are well-known names. He was praising them. And now all of a sudden they're a team full of incompetent players who need to be rehabilitated. You know, I don't know what more the Friedkins can do. They literally, Friedkin himself piloted the flight that Lukaku was on. Did you see that?
No,
he did. Yeah, apparently
that's
so.
Insane. The most tracked flight in history.
In history, yes. To see where Lukaku is. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But anyway,
Roma had 71% ball possession, as I mentioned earlier, but they did miss a bunch of chances, which was quite reminiscent of their season last season. However, this season they also look vulnerable at the back, whereas last season they didn't at all. And I do think that a factor is, firstly, Rui Patricio, not a great goalkeeper. I'm sorry, he's a bit older now,
yes.
and he's not great. He was shit last season. He spilled the shot in this goal, in the first goal. And Smalling might be showing his age a little bit. Last weekend he got fucked by Kandreva on the first goal, as he ran at pace. Kandreva. Here it describes it as Kandreva ran at pace to the Englishman.
Yeah, like,
can you imagine Kandreva running at pace? He's older than Smalling, like at 36 years old.
Yes,
And
Smalling is 33. Like.
Then in this match, he got done. He got fucked again. This time by Cyril Ngonge in a one-on-one, which, alright, Ngonge is way quicker than Smalling, but there was when he dribbled past him, they were facing each other, and with one simple movement, Smalling hit the deck. Like he was on the ground. He was so confused by Cyril Ngonge. Like,
yes,
so
bad start by them.
Very bad start, and I do think the defensive part does come down to Smalling and Rui Patricio for the time being. Would you agree with that?
Yes, they need to shake off the rust.
Yeah, the ring rust.
The ring rust.
Also, last season Roma hit the woodwork over 30 times. The previous season saw a similar trend. It was around the same amount. Last week they hit the post once, and this weekend they hit the post twice. So they are on course to hitting the highs that they did in the past few seasons. When it comes to Hellas Verona, they are looking much more like a team this season. They are defending as a unit and attacking well on the break. Like we said yesterday, like we said in the last episode, very selective when it comes to when they counter-attack and when they just sit back and say, okay, now we have the ball, kind of thing. And even like that ball by Duda to Cyril Ngonge showed that perfectly. It's like, we're not going to launch the ball very often, but in this case, I'm launching the ball down the wing. That was the right decision.
Yeah, definitely. Is that it?
Yep, that's pretty much it for
then
me.
We can
bro.
move on to the other side of Rome. I swear to God, no one smiled in Rome this weekend.
No one smiled in Rome. And guys, I have just heard back some of the podcast, and I can confirm that you are hearing our dog whining. Apologies for that, but I don't think he has long left.
Yes,
So
it'll be a problem of the past in no time. Not only because of Bully's inevitable demise, but because we have the studio ready. We can actually, well, ready.
Pretty much.
It's got paint.
And an AC.
And an AC and tiles. But yes, it's
Software.
soundproof. We should start recording there. We'll do it from next episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, Lazio 0, Genoa 1. Lazio had won 6 of their previous 7 home matches against Genoa and Serie A with 1 loss. In this period, they scored an average of 3 goals per game. So Genoa came into this game with very little hope of beating Lazio. This is the second time Lazio lost their first 2 league games of the season. The first was in 2018-19 when they lost against Napoli and Juve. So it was more excusable back then. Now, there's no real excuse for it.
My God, man, 0 points for Lazio on the first 2 games.
Yeah, terrible. 4-3-3 for Maurizio Sarri as always. Provedel was in goal with Maricic as the left back and Lazzari as the right back. Romagnoli and Ciasala were the centre back partnership. Luis Alberto, Cataldi and Kamada were in the middle with Zaccagni out on the left, Anderson out on the right and Immobile up front. For Gilardino's men, it was a 4-3-2-1 formation with Martinez in goal, Sabelli on the right and Vasquez on the left, with Dragosin and Bani as the centre-back duo. Frendrup, Badel and Strutman were in the middle with Malinovsky and Gudmundsson playing behind Retegui. In the 16th minute, Genoa were rewarded for their early ventures forward when a quick attacking move allowed Retegui to latch onto a loose ball following a Provedel save. The Argentine-Italian striker easily headed the ball into the back of the Lazio net, putting the away side 1-0 up. Lazio got better but couldn't quite penetrate Genoa as they held firm. In the 65th minute, Immobile struck the crossbar, and by the end of the game, Lazio had 16 shots and an XG of 1.45, yet they didn't manage a single point out of this match. They were almost awarded a penalty at the end, but VAR ruled it out. And that was basically the game in a nutshell, as Genoa played some beautiful haram ball over here.
Haram ball?
Haram ball, yes.
Why haram ball?
It's catenaccio, no? Kind of. Yes,
Is that what they're calling
in
it
English,
nowadays?
right? Haram ball.
What?
Because it's haram, bro. Yes, I must say that I am extremely impressed with Albert Goodmanson.
Oh,
He's a
Albert looks great.
fantastic
Albert
player.
looks very good,
He's
man.
saucy, bro. He's
Big Al, they
confident
call
with it,
him.
Big Al. He's so good. He's so
Yeah.
technical and so smart.
Yeah. You
and
picked up him and Malinovsky in
Yes,
Fanta.
fuck it.
All the Genoa boys.
Yeah. And they've also got Junior Messias over there, so it's gonna get good for Genoa. It's gonna definitely
man.
get better.
Definitely.
I believe Tanguy Ndombele has also been linked to Genoa. I think he's going.
Well, they've got a day to do it.
Yeah.
So they better get cracking.
Yeah.
Oh
They're-
my
Jesus, what a
God.
goal. Okay.
Venezia.
scored a stunning free kick.
Who's that, bro?
that got
And our TV got
All
stuck.
right, we're good.
The
Tesman.
American Tesman.
Year of the Americans.
If you guys watched Ronaldo's free kick in the Champions League for United against Arsenal, where United were wearing that blue kit, the one too far for Ronaldo to think about it, and it was Almunia in goal. Same thing, bro.
Yeah.
Same thing.
So back to the Lazio game. So first of all, Lazio have sent Akpak pro to Monza, and they've brought
Great signing for Monza.
great signing, and they've brought in Guendouzi from Marseille. Now I might argue that they should have kept Akpak pro instead of bringing in Guendouzi, because Akpak pro had a fantastic season last year. But I don't know. I haven't seen much of Guendouzi.
Guendouzi is good. He's quite physical. He's tough, and he's a good passer of the ball. So he could do well. But I'm not sure, because Akpak bro looked like fucking Patrick Vieira last season.
He was so good. Sarri had this to say after the game.
Empoli had the opportunity to keep him, and they didn't, man.
Oh my god.
Akpak bro.
Okay. So Sarri said 2 completely different matches, while referring, of course, to the opening 2 games of the season. The one in Lecce was a game of apathy. This evening we approached it badly because of repercussions that the previous game left us. In the end, we played a good match, we didn't give up, we lacked a bit of focus and a bit of quality. We never allowed Genoa to counter, and in some respects it's a huge step forward compared to Lecce. Now we have to find the quality of our quality players. Yes, okay, it's true they were set up better, and it's true that Genoa didn't really counter, but they didn't really make anything tick. They couldn't take their chances, this game, Lazio, at all.
Here I was thinking that Lazio were at that stage because they got so much better last season than they were in the previous seasons, coming second in the league, that they won't look at a loss against Genoa as a step up in their performances. But he needs to be objective, and he needs to say, we lost against a newly promoted side and we lost the first game of the season as well. So whilst there might be truth to what he's saying, it just shows a bit what the mentality of the club is, man.
Yes.
Or what the mentality of Sarri is, rather.
And Sarri also said that in the 79th minute, when he brought in Castellanos for Cataldi, it was because he saw many balls flying in, but it actually caused a lot of confusion having 2 target men in, and they completely lost any form of cohesion they had. And that probably stopped them from getting into the game, because a game like this would take a goal in between the 80th and the 90th minute, right? You often see an equalizer at that time, and they just couldn't do it because they couldn't get everything to tick. Still early days. They're getting used to playing without their everything.
Exactly. And it is detrimental. I'm not saying that their entire season is going to be compromised because of that, albeit it probably will be. But they could still hit highs. It's still early on in the season. Yes, they are going to be in a slump about these opening 2 losses. It's terrible losing your first 2. After that long wait to get back to football, they get back and they give us 2 shit performances like they did. It's disappointing, and the players will feel it most. The club will feel it most. So they are going to be down about it, but we'll see what their reaction is going to be.
Coming into this game, Kamada had only had 11 days of training. I mean, it's still very early days, right? In the first 15 minutes, Lazio gave away the ball 15 times to the opponent.
My God.
Yes, it wasn't a good game by them at all, and Genoa looked to really show off for the first time after getting absolutely thumped by Fiorentina, and they did demonstrate what they can do. Retegui scoring his first in Serie A.
Yes, sir. The next game we're going to be covering is Frosinone 2, Atalanta 1. Yet another upset. Frosinone coming off a 3-1 loss to Napoli at home after they started very well in that game. Atalanta coming off a 2-0 away victory against Sassuolo. Before we get into this, I have to point out that Frosinone have just signed a 2002 talent from Real Madrid, Reiner Jesus, who is an attacking midfielder. Unfortunately, that's all I can tell you about him because I don't know anything else about him. In 2 home games against Atalanta and Serie A, Frosinone have earned just a single point courtesy of a 0-0 draw in January 2016. After that, Frosinone lost their other home match against the Bergamaschi 5-0 at home in January 2019. Among the teams Atalanta faced more than twice in Serie A, Frosinone are the only side that have never scored against Atalanta in 4 matches, 11 goals by the Dea and 0 by the Ciocari, or the Ciociari, whatever that is. La Dea were still missing the injured El Bilal Touré, Hans Hatteber and José Luis Palomino. On the other hand, Frosinone lost goalkeeper Stefano Turati to suspension after he was caught on camera using a blasphemous phrase, which in the Italian language is the worst kind of swearing.
I wonder what he said.
Hey, no articles say, man. They threw Khedira and Barineccia straight into the starting 11 after loans from Napoli and Juventus, respectively. Now, when it comes to the starting lineups, for Frosinone, it was a 4-2-3-1 formation with Cerofolini in goal and a backline of Marchizza, Romagnoli, Monterisi and Oyono. A double pivot of Barrenechea and Mazzitelli, with Baez out on the left, Gelli out on the right and Harroui playing behind Khedira. For Atalanta, it was a 3-4-1-2 formation with Juan Musso on goal and the backline of Scalvini, Jim City and Kolasinac. Zappacosta was out on the right, whilst Ruggeri was out on the left with De Roon and Ederson forming double pivot, Cope Miners just ahead of them with Lukman and Zapata up front. Once again, Frosinone started very quickly, and it was the same guy that started quickly against Napoli, that started quickly against Atalanta, Harroui. Marchizza did extremely well to dispossess Lukman well inside Atalanta's half thanks to the high press. Harroui collected the ball, advanced into the area and slotted into the bottom corner very well. Harroui is looking like a very big asset for the side.
Yeah, he's really stepping up. He's really taking on the responsibility to carry this team, as one of the players would say, experience.
Yeah, and I do think that Marchizza did he did a great job to dispossess Lukman over there. The high press was real by Frosinone. They're not here to fuck around, man. In the 24th minute, Frosinone made it 2. Monterisi scored. Following a corner, Romagnoli rose highest and knocked the ball into the air, and it fell to Monterisi, who flicked the ball in with the outside of his boot. It was absolutely shambolic defending by Atalanta, who didn't manage to get to the ball first twice in this action. Zappacosta looked destined to score in the 29th minute as the ball bounced perfectly in front of him inside the area, right in front of the goalkeeper, who was begging for a miracle at that point. But as the Italian struck the ball with serious venom, Monterisi, the scorer of the second goal, produced a fantastic block, extending himself perfectly and bravely into harm's way. In the 56th minute, however, Atalanta did manage to get one back as Zappacosta received the ball inside the area with his back towards goal, and oh my god, I said Zappacosta, apologies. Zapata, in the 56th minute, received the ball inside the area with his back towards goal and quickly turned past Monterisi and firing it in past Cerofolini with great power. What a goal by Zapata, rolling back the years. In the 68th minute, a slick passage of play by Atalanta found Scalvini right in front of the keeper, but Cerofolini did extremely well to deny the Italian centre-back, dropping down well. Frosinone held on well, putting their bodies on the line and denying Atalanta's firepower in Scamacca, De Ketelare, Cope Miners and co. Now, when it comes to the talking points, bro, just like their season opener against Napoli, Frosinone looked fast, fluid and organised for the team that they are, and they're not scared of taking the game to their opponents. They also play with a super high press at the start of matches and try to defend a lead rather than letting their opponents growing into the game as they find their own feet. It's such a brave move by Frosinone and by Eusebio Di Francesco, man. And we were saying that Di Francesco would be the first manager sacked, but we're looking at some high-profile teams who have yet to record a victory. And Frosinone here on one win against Atalanta and one loss against Napoli, in which they scored the opening goal, man.
Yes, they're playing like the champions of Serie B, right? They're playing like a team that has won a league last season. And that's what they are at the end of the day. These guys would be used to winning week in, week out. So I guess that would mold someone into a person who hates losing, right? A sore loser, perhaps. So yeah, maybe they're giving it their all. And they're making some smart signings. Berenchea from Juventus in the middle is a very nice little buy. The two Sassuolo boys they brought in, and Harloui and Markets are having a great time. Romagnoli's an experienced defender at the back over there. Kedira they've brought in, playing up front. He was playing for Bari, another experienced striker. They've got it good, Frosinone. They're playing very well, and they've just slayed a giant, you know.
Yeah, I do think that out of the newly promoted sides, out of the opening 2 games, I do think that they look the most dangerous. They look the most capable,
the most fluid.
They're fast. They're fast. They're opportunistic. You see over here, they scored one because of the high press in them dispossessing Lookman in a dangerous area, and the second through a corner. Not only did the corner, the player that received the corner, Romagnoli, not make significant contact with it, but it managed to fall to another player who managed to get the goal over there. So really opportunistic stuff by Frosinone, who are doing whatever it takes to get a goal. And they look super, super organized when defending. Okay, they park the bus significantly, they throw all the men back, but they keep their shape. They shift, they press when they need to press, and they hang back when they need to hang back. They look experienced, man.
The man of the match, Monterisi, is only 21 years old. He played like a veteran.
Fucking hell, Monterisi's 21. How I just assumed he was 32 from the way he played, man.
He was with Lecce early on, which explains why he's so solid defensively.
Yeah.
And he got such an important goal. He was the hero of this game.
Monterisi. When I went to Cinque Terre, one of my favorite places was Monterosso. Beautiful little village. But Monterisi is looking like he's going to be a promising defender with the way that he played. Man, that block in particular, very good game by him. This is a very big loss for Atalanta, bro. They got 0 points in one of the easier, in inverted commas, fixtures that they played so early on in the season. They will be kicking themselves when it comes down to the last match day, and they're in dire need for 3 points.
Of course, yes. They'll be looking back saying, how the hell didn't we get that done over there, especially if they go on a run towards the end of the season. They'll be like, how didn't we win that? And they'll probably be looking at Duvan Zapata, who's no longer there, and saying, that's why we didn't win. That idiot was up front.
Well, he's the guy that got the goal over there. Not Zappa Costa, because I made that mistake earlier. What do you think of Scamacca so far? He hasn't been featuring from the first bell.
Which was expected, to be honest, because Gasperini has this weird rotation system he loves. I think he should be on 2 assists already, personally. He played, in the first game, he played De Ketelare through. He hit the crossbar. And in this game, I forgot who it was, but he laid the ball off to someone perfectly and he missed as well. Scalvini.
That was a beautiful passage of play by Atalanta.
Yes. So Scamacca definitely looks selfless. He looks ready. He looks like he's in good shape as well.
He'll get firing, man.
He'll be a protagonist for them.
I think so as well. But that's all from this match. I'm excited to see more of Frosinone this season. They're a bit of a dark horse, aren't they, man? As in not to fucking...
For survival.
For survival. We both... I believe I had them in last, and so did you,
I had them in last as well. Little did I know that they're so lit.
Because they removed Grosso. And we thought they were all Grosso, and that everything was Grosso. But clearly, there's continuity in the starting 11, and clearly Di Francesco has found a team that he could work with.
And they brought in a manager with an interesting style as well, an offensive style, Di Francesco. So I guess he might not be too different to Grosso.
Exactly.
But yes, the next game we're going to be covering is Fiorentina 2, Lecce 2. Lecce attempted 33 dribbles on matchday 1, of which 17 were successful. Both records in Serie A this season. In particular, Pontus Almqvist completed 7, a record for a Lecce player in a top-flight match since 2012 against Siena. And guess who the players were against Siena to complete so many dribbles?
For who? For Atalanta?
For Lecce.
For Lecce.
One completed 8, the other completed 10.
I have no idea.
Juan Cuadrado and Luis Muriel.
Oh my god, bro. I love this shit.
I had to pull that out. So it's Pontus Almqvist.
Pontus Almqvist, not to be confused with Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic from back in the day.
But yes, for Fiorentina, it was a 4-2-3-1 formation with Christensen in goal, Parisi as the left back and Dodo as right back, Milenkovic and Martinez Quarta as a centre back duo. Duncan and Arthur were in the double pivot with Sotil on the left and Nico Gonzalez on the right. Bonaventura was playing as a trequartista with Beltran getting the nod up front this time.
Of course, Terracciano didn't start in goal. He was starting for Verona on the right wing, no? Badooms.
Two different players, guys. Two different players. For Lecce, it was their 4-3-3 formation with Falcone in goal, Jean-Jay as the right back, Gallo as the left back, Pongracic and Baschirotto as the centre back partnership, with Raffia, Ramadani and Gonzalez in the middle, Almqvist on the right, Banda on the left, and Strefezza up front. It is interesting to note that Lecce have just brought in Piccoli, and he will probably be featuring up front, and they've also confirmed Udan, who was with them last season, and he'll be joining them again this season.
Yeah, Udan was slick last season for them.
So in the 3rd minute, Fiorentina got off to a flying start. That's what I was going to say. Fucking
flying start.
So a fucking flying start. Duncan swung in a corner and Nico Gonzalez headed it in. He's not the tallest, but he's so dangerous in the air. Ramadani was marking him and he seemed like he was trying to win a foul, but there wasn't anything in it. Nico Gonzalez scores yet another header. In the 25th minute, Beltran, the clever striker, the clever new boy from River Plate playing up front for Fiorentina, played Arthur through, who crossed it into Duncan, who headed it home in a pure slam dunk manner.
Yep.
Proper dunk, if there's a dunk in football, that's it. In the 41st minute, Nico flicked Duncan through, but the gun-in was denied by the post. Duncan could have got 2 goals in the first half, basically. And it was all Fiorentina the first half, and to be honest, everyone thought that they were going to win it. Yeah.
Especially considering their opening performance against Genoa.
Exactly. People thought they were going to blow them out of the water. But as we all know, Lecce do not concede more than 2 goals. In the 49th minute, Raffia nicked the ball off Beltran and it fell to Banda. The 5'2" Zambian held the ball up before Raffia came out of nowhere and curled it into the top corner, dispossessing his own teammate, essentially. Banda had the ball and Raffia just kicked it out of his feet and scored top corner. What a goal. It worked and Banda still gets the assist, so all is well. In the 76th minutes after his making his Serie A debut, Nikola Kristovic heads in a deadly Banda cross perfectly between Martinez, Quarta and Parisi to get the equalizer. What a goal, what a debut for Kristovic. And Lecce they're back in it, like that.
Yeah.
In this closing minutes of the game, Kwame got close to giving Fiorentina the lead. It was an added time. But he failed to connect to Brecalo's cross properly, and the game ended 2-2.
Oh, what a result for Lecce.
They're
Once
relentless.
Again, man.
They're relentless, bro.
Once again.
Absolutely relentless.
Actually, I think in my prediction I had Lecce last and Frosinone won before the last.
Yes, you did. You did.
I
Now
did.
I'm remembering. They are incredible. They do not die and they never give up, and they'll continue fighting until the very end, until they get something out of the game. Fiorentina, perhaps they took their foot off the gas in this one, and I'm sure they weren't expecting Duncan's miss to come back to haunt him.
Yeah. Roberto D'Aversa, the new manager of Lecce, actually seems like he's doing quite a good job as well. It's been a very good debut for a lot of the newcoming managers in Serie A, which is good to see, considering a lot of them have had negative spells in the past and have been sacked. Like Di Francesco has been sacked from multiple teams like Roma and Udinese, I believe. Sorry, not Udinese, Hellas Verona. Whilst D'Aversa was sacked by Sampdoria last season.
Yes. Fiorentina do have potential. Of course, they're a great team. I like the way Duncan and Arthur are playing. They're really ticking in the middle over there. And with Amrabat, the whole deal with Amrabat seems to be falling through with United. I heard
he's getting frustrated with them.
Did you hear the latest stuff? Right?
Napoli.
It was a 2 million. No, United offered a 2 million loan for Amrabat. But the 2 million will be paid in separate 1 million installments.
What is this, man? Me trying to buy my place? Like, with all the, but all the payment terms I was pulling out of my ass, like.
Amrabat might be a Milan player, he might be a Napoli player tomorrow, who knows?
I didn't. You guys mentioned the possibility of him joining Milan, but I was seeing Napoli everywhere. I wasn't
seeing Napoli. Italiano explained the difference between Beltran and Inzola, saying that Beltran is good in tight spaces and he moves well and he's very intelligent, while Inzola is bigger and faster than most people. Is he subtle in calling Inzola an idiot? Maybe no, I'm kidding. But true, they are very different players and both very useful and both situational. And a tactician like Italiano would be extremely happy to have the option of deploying both these men, because depending on the matchup, right? You can go for the player who will play the midfielders and wingers through, or you can go for the target man who's amazing on the counter and who's just powerful and can blast through opponents.
Fiorentina have one hell of a squad, man. Even this that you just said, the option of having Beltran and Inzola up front, along with, of course, Jovic as well. 3 fantastic options for them up front, particularly Beltran and Inzola. Even the fact that they have Mandragora in the midfield, they have Kwame, they have Brekalo as well that they can bring on. Here we saw Parisi starting ahead of Beraghi as well. They have Yeremina on the bench. They just have such a good squad, Fiorentina. And if Italiano manages to expose their qualities, and if he manages to get players to play to their strengths and contribute to his system through their strengths, then they are going to be a seriously formidable side. Now, this is Rich coming from me after they just threw away a lead to Lecce. But the season is long and they have shown us serious quality, Fiorentina. Yes. And the opening match and even in this one, that quick start, the fact that Nico Gonzalez has really hit the ground running this season, who, when we see that he's a fantastic player, one of the best right wingers in the league. And I do think there's a bright season ahead for Fiorentina. They clearly have no problem scoring goals, man.
Yeah, that's totally true. A bit of work to do defensively. Mm-hmm. For Lecce, I need to praise Banda, who last season was playing second fiddle in most games, really picked up towards the end of the season, and this season has really embraced the role of the protagonist of this team. No one on this team is as skillful and as explosive as the 5'2" Zambian man. I swear
absolutely.
To God, he plays with so much flair.
And if he's having an off day, then they bring on the son of Eusebio Di Francesco.
Exactly.
Di Francesco. As well, Gallo had a decent game over here. They could also bring on Dorgu if he is not having an incredible game, and even bringing on the likes of Blin. Lecce don't have a terrible squad. If you were to compare them to, for example, the team Udinese have been fielding, there's not much difference in quality, man.
It's true, and they've lost so many players. Like if you look at the players they've lost Hulman, Cisse, Cassandro, Colombo, Bjorkengren, Romagnoli, Persson, Lucioni, Monterisi, Rodriguez, Bleve, Lemons, Male, and Di Francesco.
Di Francesco's still there, yes.
And they've brought in so many players, man. They've brought in Almqvist, Udin. They've brought in, they lost Umtiti, but they brought in Pongracic. Raffia came in, Smailovic.
Piccoli now as well.
These are all good signings with a minimal budget, and maybe, to everyone's surprise, Lecce survived this season.
Yeah, the season is long. Season is very, very long. Our opinion can change, but from the first 2 games, Lecce have looked solid the same way they looked solid at the start of last season as well.
Let's move on to the next game.
Okay, the next game we're going to be covering, and the penultimate game we're going to be covering, is Monza's 2-0 victory over Empoli. Monza coming off a 2-0 loss against Inter in the season opener, whilst Empoli were coming off a 1-0 home loss to Hellas Verona. Monza and Empoli have actually only met twice previously in Serie A, and it was both last season. A home win for each side, 1-0 at Empoli and 2-1 in Monza. Daniel Maldini was still out with injury, and joined goalkeeper Elia Caprile with a badly sprained ankle. The hosts welcomed Armando Izzo on his return from suspension. When it comes to the starting 11 for Monza, it was a 3-4-2-1 formation with Di Gregorio in goal and a backline of Caldirola, Mari and Izzo. They had Churia out on the left this time and Birindelli out on the right. Gagliardini and Pessina in the double pivot with Caprari and Colpani playing behind Mota. For Empoli, it was Perizan in goal and a backline of Ebuehi, Ismaili, Luperto and Cacace. They had Haas and Marin in the midfield with Cancelleri out on the right, Jassi out on the left and Baldanzi playing behind Ciccio Caputo. Gagliardini struck the woodwork in the 19th minute with a powerful shot from some serious distance. This was around 25 to 30 yards out and was an absolute bullet. good to see that in addition to him being a very tidy midfielder, that he also has that in his locker. In the 25th minute, Caldirola and Churia linked up brilliantly down the left flank, leading to Churia squaring the ball into the box, but Colpani's shot was cleared off the line by Luperto. However, Colpani did manage to get a goal on the stroke of half-time in the 45th minute as Churia found Colpani just outside the box. Colpani effortlessly skipped past Gyasi before firing the ball into the top near corner with a left-footed thunderbolt. What a goal! That was our goal of the week. Very tidy stuff there by Colpani. Empoli almost got a goal back at the start of the second half after a defensive clusterfuck by Monza led to Caputo having an open goal, but Birindelli blocked the strike very, very well. In the 48th minute, Marin struck the woodwork from at least 35 yards out. This time, Di Gregorio did get a touch to it. This was one of those Marin shots that he takes on sometimes. You know what I mean?
He took one Matchday 1.
Yeah, literally.
The exact same shot, hit the crossbar as well.
Literally, that's 2 for 2 for him. In the 53rd minute, and then Colpani got his second goal for Monza and for himself. It looked like Perizan denied Colpani's header, but the keeper's arm was not quite strong enough as the ball slowly made its way over the line. So Monza took away all 3 points, their first victory of the season, while Empoli still have yet to get off the mark. They're off to a dreadful start. Maybe my earlier prediction wasn't too far-fetched. What is it that is making Empoli struggle? Okay, this game was against Monza. The season opener was against Verona, that now have 2 victories in a row. But so technically they're not the easiest games, but you have to put up a fight against teams that are within your realm. And I feel like they really haven't been doing that, and they've clearly been second best in both games.
I feel like Monza are a level above when it comes to organization, definitely. I think that in Empoli's system, the wingers are very important, and they have 2 new wingers who are still settling in Cancelleri and Gyasi.
Yeah, they didn't even play with wingers last season, so that's a big change for them.
It really is. And I don't know, they don't seem to be ticking as well at all. Caputo seems isolated, and he's past it as well. Let's be real, Caputo. He's still good. He's still a capable goal scorer, but I don't think he can be. Yes, I don't think he can be your reference point though anymore. I think he's past it, and I think he needs competition up front.
Yeah,
it's just a shame that they've just let go of Piccoli to bring in Male. Granted, Male, his technique can definitely help them in the middle.
Yeah, I think there's strong points to this side, but there are also very weak points. So Baldanzi is obviously a great player. Marin is a great player. Ebuehi is a great player. Ismaili and Luperto aren't bad. Cacace is okay. Haas is okay. Cancelleri can work. He just needs more time. He's clearly a talented young guy. He's there to get minutes, and as he gets more minutes, the better he's going to become, and his qualities are going to be showcased.
He's explosive, but the more I watch him, the less I like him.
Really?
Yes, I used to really
I like
hate
his
him.
pace and size for a winger, man. I like his size a lot for a winger.
I'm not sure about his decision making, and having him.
Yeah, but that's why he needs minutes, no?
Yes, but sometimes minutes can't improve your footballing brain.
Maybe he just needs to get used to his teammates.
21. He's 21.
3 clubs in 3 years for him. It's not easy.
Yeah, that's true. He needs to settle a bit. He needs some continuity, you know.
Yeah, him and Baldanzi could actually be quite terrifying together in the future. However, like you said, Caputo a little bit past it, and Gyasi on the left. To be honest, maybe I'm being daft, but what do you see in him, kind of thing? Like, why bring him on as your winger? You're better off either loaning in a young talent from Juventus, Milan, Lazio, or someone like that, rather than doing that, man.
I mean, maybe they were predicting that they might be in a relegation fight because the teams around them have really improved at the bottom part of the table. Gyasi is a leader. He was the captain of Spezia, as we mentioned in the last episode. And I guess that was the appeal, no? You're bringing in a seasoned captain and leader of a team that survived 3 seasons in a row against all odds.
Yeah. No, fair enough. You make him sound good. For Monza, it was a clean win for them. It's at this point in the season for Monza, yes, it's important to get 3 points, but it's very important as well to have a player like Colpani showcase what he's capable of and having such a great game.
Yes, nice to see that he's also stepped up, Colpani. He had a good season last season, and this game, He just showed us another level, a new level. I didn't
Yeah.
think he was this good, but
Yeah.
fuck me, he was good this game.
Yeah. I like that front three a lot. Caprari, Colpani, Mota, a lot of pace over there as well, a lot of trickery, a lot of technique. Also important to note, Petagna is out of the squad as he has joined Cagliari. So that gives Mota the opportunity to really show us what he's made of. But that's enough for this fixture.
Yeah, moving on to the Monday 6:30 madness was Salernitana 1, Udinese 1. Salernitana are unbeaten in 4 of their last 5 matches against Udinese since their return in Serie A in 2001. Udinese have scored in each of their 8 away matches played between Serie A and Serie B against Salernitana, so there was your bet.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Lucca was starting this game, fun fact. I was so hyped to watch him. I'm very excited for this guy. So, Salernitana lined up with a 3-4-2-1 formation for Sousa's men. It was Ochoa in goal with Pirola, Gyomber and Lovato at the back, Mazzocchi as the left wing back and Castanos as the right wing back. Koulibaly and Bohinen were in the middle. Kandreva and Botheim were playing behind Dia, who started this game and who looks to be staying.
Yeah, it does seem that way, man.
And that's massive for Salernitana. I officially retract my statement that they will be in the bottom 3 because with Dia up front and Kandreva behind him, you cannot finish top bottom 3.
Absolutely.
Silvestri was in goal for Udinese as Sotil deployed his 3-5-2. Perez, Bijol and Cabasele were at the back with Ferreira on the right, Kamara on the left,
Jesus.
Lovrich, Wallace and Samardzic were in the middle with Lorenzo Lucca and Thovan up front.
That's the 2 weeks in a row.
Oh my god, I've been like this for like a month, dude. I don't know what's going on with me. Oh, he must have COVID. In the 57th minute, we saw the first goal as Lorenzo Lucca headed across into the path of Lazar Samardzic, who rifled the ball into the bottom corner. The first half was a cagey one, and nothing really happened. No teams tense, cagey. No team wanted to concede, and it was clear. But in the second half, when Lorenzo Lucca, the 6'7" striker, headed the ball to Samardzic, and he scored, that's when the game opened up and Salernitana really started attacking. In the 72nd minute, Kandreva intelligently played the ball through to Bulayedia, who finished expertly. There were crazy scenes, of course, Bulayedia, immediately all that. Salerno was going mental. The Salernitana fans were amazing this game. Udinese had, I believe, 70 fans. I'm not even joking. It's not really? Exaggerating. They had 70 fans in the away sector. It was quite
That means Atalanta. That means Salernitana had 19,930 fans.
Yeah, that makes sense. Salerno is crazy for Salernitana. Yes, I was particularly impressed with Salernitana's new boys. So they have actually brought in more players than just the infamous Stewart with the hairstyle. They've brought in a guy called Ikwemezi, who displayed great technique this game when rounding the goalkeeper at one point. I thought the goalkeeper came out and cleared the ball, Silvestri, but it turns out it was at Ikwemezi's feet the entire time. Cabral was brought in from Sporting.
Oh.
Yeah, you might recognize him from his time at Lazio, remember? And Martegiani had a fantastic curling effort saved by Silvestri's a midfielder, and he played an incredible game.
I'm just gonna say Cabral, not to be confused with Fiorentina.
Yeah, no. Who is having a great time at Benfica, I believe.
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so.
With Di Maria is there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a great game to close the week. Well, the Inter game closed the week, but this was an even better game in my opinion to watch. It was so much fun to watch. Entertaining, and it was a well-earned draw by both teams. I don't think any team particularly deserved to win it. Ochoa had a fantastic save at one point. The commentator kept describing Ochoa as a flamboyant goalkeeper.
Yeah,
and it makes perfect sense. And he said that he makes every save look better than it actually is.
100%.
Which is true. He's very showboaty.
100%.
But great keeper nonetheless, and he had a fantastic game this game.
Yeah, I agree.
So that concludes our analysis of Matchday 2.
If you want to call it that.
If you want to call it that. We can move on to our question segment.
I got a question.
Welcome to our question segment, which is open for all but our patrons always get priority. Right?
Yes.
So if you want priority in the question segment, it's $3.99 a month, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our first question comes from Matthias Krussel, who says, strange of Empoli to loan out Henderson to Palermo when they need more physicality in the midfield. They apparently declined to bring back Akpa
Yep.
as well. What do you think?
I think so. I think they had such good balance to the midfield last season with Akpa on, especially in that positive run that they had just before the World Cup. He was significantly important in breaking down play for them, and now they're clearly lacking that in their side. I mean, is Haas supposed to be that guy?
Yeah.
Because I think as much as him being a physical player, I don't think he can dispossess players the same way Akpa does, or the same way that Henderson does, for that matter. So yes, a strange call, and I do think it's gonna bite them in the ass a little bit.
Yes, definitely weird. But Henderson, I mean, Akpa, if you have the option to redeem him after the season he had. And Henderson has been very good for them. So it's probably a massive factor in why they're struggling. Poor decisions in the market.
I think so.
The next question comes from RK on Instagram, and it's more of a statement. He says, Juve still need to sack Allegri and bring in a coach with a winning mentality like Conte. Replace Danilo and Alexandro, as they are evidently not even close to being solid centre-backs. They are bloody left and right backs. This team will not function other in a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3 formation.
I think Danilo's a great centre-back.
Alexandro, yes, you're right, completely. Danilo's a
Yeah.
leader, though you can't really hate Danilo, I think.
But I can't fault Danilo's performances as a right centre back for them, despite the fact that he's a natural right back.
Allegri, I think they wanted to remove him, but it
8
was
million.
too expensive as an operation, so they just have to keep him. They're forced to keep him without European football.
I don't think they have an option in
They
that
don't,
sense.
they don't.
The financial turmoil and the ban that they have from European football is going to cost them a lot financially. We all know what they went through during COVID. With the Ronaldo purchase as well, they struggled for a few years. So I think, look, Allegri's going to get them top 4. Yeah. So I think ride the wave until Allegri runs his contract out, and then you're absolutely right. They should look for a manager with a proper winning mentality and a more offensive manager, because they have the players for that.
Then you bring in Italiano or Motta or someone like that.
Or maybe don't, bro. Fucking keep those managers away from Juve.
So the next question comes from Simon Hollish, who says, Salamakers, in my opinion, deserves a better club than Bologna. When given a chance, he's going to show that he's worth a lot more than what people think.
It's hilarious, because I agree with him, but then he won't start for Bologna.
That's it. No, he deserves a place where he can express himself and get more minutes. Now, does he deserve a better club than Bologna? In theory, yes. Is he guaranteed a starting spot at Bologna? No. They have many good players in his position. You say, okay, maybe there is Ndoye and Orsolini, like, sure, he can't play behind the striker, but he can pop him as a right wing back. Nope, there's Stefan Posch, one of the highest scoring fullbacks in the league last season. You know, he's going to have to prove himself, and if he can't get a starting spot at Bologna, then maybe that's his level. Now is his time to prove himself as a protagonist for a mid-table team with ambitions for that 7th spot, perhaps.
In reality, Salamakers' place at Milan was because of a clear and evident hole in Milan's team, which at the time there was Suso and Castillejo. And then when Suso left and Castillejo needed someone to compete with, because there's no way you start with Castillejo as AC Milan, they brought on Salamakers. And then Salamakers turned out to be a better player than Samu. And then Messias ended up being Salamakers' vice. So he was there essentially because of a hole, and because Milan just simply weren't investing in any real solid talent of a great caliber in the right wing position. So technically, if there's a bigger team with a hole in the right wing position, surely Salamakers would be a good fit for them, because he's a good player. But he is inconsistent, and you would always want someone a bit better as a top 7 team, for example, in Italy.
Salamakers needs to improve his, how am I going to put this nicely? Let's say his discipline. Because there were many situations where he had the ball when Milan had an advantage, and Pioli was literally signaling from the touchline for him to pass, and or to pass back or to not lose the ball, and he'd go for a stupid dribble and lose the ball. And I feel like maybe this might have been what caused the fallout, or maybe it was an attitude problem. I don't know, because it is strange how Milan just shipped him out.
Yeah, I think so. Salamakers is a medium steak. If he doesn't have any sauce, then he's gonna suffer. But with the sauce, he's fucking saucy and he's delicious.
And that was Matthew. Now, moving on to...
Oh yeah, you know what I mean with this sauce?
Yeah,
sometimes he's saucy, sometimes he's not. He's not saucy, he's nothing.
Yeah.
He's saucy, he's
He
everything.
most definitely is not rare. That's what he definitely is.
Yeah.
So, Panza Vecchia, El Pans.
Pans.
He asks...
What up, baby?
Are Lazio missing SMS more than people have imagined? Definitely.
100 billion%.
I think it goes without saying, no explanation needed.
And I think they'll suffer for longer than people would have imagined.
Yeah, definitely. He also asks, does Lukaku make Roma top 4 favorites? Not favorites,
No.
but contenders, sure.
It puts them in a better position to get themselves top 4, because even though Lukaku can be quite a liability at times, he gives you a 100% success rate from the spot. He gives you a target man. He gives you someone that can hold play well. Thing is, they need to put up with having Lukaku on their team, and I feel like if Mourinho needs one particular manager in history of football managers to put him in his place, it's Mourinho. Because if
Lukaku needs, you mean?
who Lukaku needs, who Lukaku needs, it's Mourinho.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing with Mourinho, and this thing with other managers. Other managers, if a player makes a small mistake, they let it slide. Mourinho will hold you accountable to the tiniest of details, and he will publicly shame you for the tiniest of details. So I think that is something that could really put Lukaku in his place and perhaps get the best out of Lukaku.
Yeah, maybe cause another feud.
Or maybe cause
We'll
another
see.
feud.
Max Camilleri asks, should this be a rare season where all newly promoted teams stay up?
Too early to say.
You should hear his next question.
I'm not convinced, because to me Frosinone and Genoa look great. Cagliari look okay. They look okay. They haven't done anything in the opening 2 games that made me think, they'll stay up. But Genoa and Frosinone, wow, man. Wow, they look really good.
Yeah. Again, as Matty said, it's too early to say, but I can't remember a time when the 3 newly promoted teams looked this impressive so early on.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely impressed by them, and I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed up. Cagliari would be the most surprising one at the moment.
Yeah.
However, I do think they'll grow into the season as well.
I think so as well. And Cagliari are that kind of team that come January, they'll make some experienced signings, like they'll reinforce.
I wonder who the bottom teams will be. Like Udinese can be relegation candidates.
Yeah.
You know?
Lazio.
We'll see. He also asks his next question. This is a crazy one. Huh? I want your predictions on top 4 in order.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and we put this in the prediction episode, and
I'm gonna mirror that.
yeah, I'm gonna mirror
Because
that
it's
as
too
well.
early to make any
I had
changes.
Juve to win the league personally, so I had Juve to win the league. I think I had Napoli in second, Milan
did.
in third,
You
and
did.
Atalanta in fourth. Those
Yeah.
were my predictions.
My predictions were Milan in first, Juve in second, Napoli in third, Inter in fourth. Max is an Inter fan, so he's gonna be displeased, especially with
Huzzah!
yours.
Yes, we'll see. Definitely look like they're going to prove me wrong.
Yeah, Inter are looking very good, man, this season as well. 3 teams in particular are looking very good this season.
Yes. But we look forward to watching more Serie A, so we can bring you more coverage.
Isn't there Steve Coleiro, I believe, had one as well?
Did he?
I believe so.
Oh
He
my
had
God,
a
Steve,
statement.
I'm so sorry.
He had a statement on Inter. I believe I saw it
My
in
days.
our DMs.
You're right.
Love you, Steve.
Sorry, Steve. So, not really a hot take, but Inter look like they're playing at 60 to 70% and are smashing it. Very concerning for the rest of the league, in my opinion. I totally agree. They didn't even have the pedal to the metal, when it
Yeah.
came to the Cagliari game, for example, and they totally blew them out of the water.
Bro, we just got a video on our TV of
Petagna smiling.
Petagna smiling and then a gecko smiling.
It's a salamander.
straight after. That's a salamander.
Because it's Salamakers.
That's brilliant.
Bologna
That's
posted.
brilliant.
Yeah, this is
That's
amazing.
brilliant. Okay.
Look at this. This is the official stream of Sky. The tabs they had open during the stream.
It's crazy,
the
bro.
stream
Like
share,
like
the stream share.
fucking control alt delete G. Statement of Steve. Yes, they look like they're playing at 60%, but it's because they get the job done in the opening 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's when they drop down to 60%. I feel like in the beginning of the games they are quite ruthless. And they punish their opponents for making simple mistakes. The Inter are going to be a serious problem for teams this season. Yeah, I definitely disagree with Jake. I think they end up top 4.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening, guys. We have been your host, Jake.
And Matt, don't forget to drop us a follow, guys. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back next week. Serie A starts early this weekend. Friday, games at 6:30 and 8:45. Do not miss Roma against Milan at the Olimpico.
I personally can't wait for the weather to cool down a bit so that we'll have the 12:30 games back again.
Absolutely, man. See you guys next week.